Good afternoon. Hope everybody's well. My name's Chris Bacon. I'm the brain injured guy. I don't like that moniker, but it kind of suits for the term because what's your excuse, Dougley? Anyway, it's 12:40 on July 3rd, Friday, after Canada Day. We've had some movement. We actually have some positive results that we wanted to share with everybody. To show that this is actually, that's, you know, if you stick by the law and the truth, sometimes it works out, eh? Anyway, we're hoping that you're going to take our lead. We're going to bring something to your attention and hopefully you'll participate. It's long overdue. You got to remember this, the property standards bylaw in Waterloo and the residential rental license bylaw in Waterloo have been in effect since 2012, full force in effect. It is now 2020, which makes that, this is the 8th year. So this is 8 years later, both of which were designed to make sure that rental properties were, especially rental properties, were to minimum building code, were applicable to bylaws and everything, and it was to keep people safe and to protect the rights of disabled people and less fortunate people, if you read the preamble. Which we will, because we're bringing we're calling it VTRAPS, Voluntary Tenant Rental Audit regarding the property standards. VTRAPS, in order to avoid the traps that Waterloo seems to condone, because what else would you call what's going on here? They're asking for lots of taxes. The mayor, who also happens to be on regional council, by the way, so who's he representing, regional council or the city? Because they're asking for more taxes, and here we have a situation where they have a legal ability in order to collect fines. They were supposed to properly administer these properties. If these properties are properly administered, there's to be permits for the necessary repairs. There's to be money collected for plans filed. There is, in this case, a work order that was used as a prop, literally as a prop, to use against persons with disabilities and tenants who were following the law and asking for direction. This started out with a simple question from the regional fire department with regard to the proper placement of a carbon monoxide detector. And between the first, you could go look at the video from 100A where he's saying, oh, it's perfectly fine, 6 feet off the floor, to where they came over here at 98B and we discovered they passed this and gave it a license when it wasn't even bare minimum when it came to fire. There was no carbon monoxide detectors, and when they installed them, they were exactly one on each floor, no more than 3 feet off the floor, like it says in manufacturer's instructions. But you need to ask yourself, does that indicate this is a rubber stamp? I believe it does. This is the rule of law. This is amalgamation. We don't need to do those other steps. We will just bypass that all. And if you look at the legislation, it's supposed to be $850 a day for every day and part day that work order remains undone, and it is still not completed to this date. July 15th is the 365th day since they were to have it completed. He was delivered the order on June 15th, 2019. They have created more hazards and ignored the order, most of the order from what we can tell. They've done a few things, but nobody is allowed to interfere with that order, and especially Shane Turner is not allowed to use it as a prop in the whole. I mean, right down to our representative, who thought it might have been inconvenient to pop by and talk to us while they used the whole weight of the law. And what you didn't see with the arrest video was that is their training. We are taught to believe that because what you see on TV, oh, somebody's in distress, they call some special person in there to talk to them, to talk them down, and then nobody has to get harmed, right? That is not what happens. What happens is what you see on TV. And I'm sorry, as a person who has been directly affected by this, you need to understand something. It is not the officer's fault. And if you take the time to watch the end of that unlawful arrest video, there's only one reason why I was arrested, because we were going out there for another time. We had been going down to Waterloo Town Square with our sign, playing guitar, not saying anything, letting people go to the videos. I am a threat. I am a political threat to the Waterloo region, and I am in danger. And I am fully confident that unless things are changed, I'm going to be the George Floyd. Matter of fact, I was George Floyd. The only difference between me and George Floyd is I lived. Because they were carrying me across the street to the cruiser instead of immediately calling an ambulance, as they were required to do. I was assaulted outside their courtroom because I asked for a disability coordinator who asked me to come down there. The video was posted. Waterloo Regional Police. Waterloo Region controls everything. And it's coordinated. What you didn't see in that video too was at the end of it, if you watch the end of it, you will see, I think his name was Paul, the officer at the end, who says this isn't good for his PTSD either. They don't care. That's the training he gets. They do not de-escalate, as you could clearly tell from the video. And I not only, after they promised they were going to put my hands in front of myself, they not only wrenched my arms behind my back and again harmed me, but what you don't see in that video is when I was taken into the hospital, supposedly under medical hold, and again innocent till proven guilty, I was made to stand with my arms behind my back as punishment. And everybody in the hospital didn't say a word. And when I was brought in to be what do they call it, examined, it is supposed to be a full physical examination, which includes a psychiatric assessment. That is not what happens. They do not do a physical exam at all, because I was harmed, I was injured, and every time I was arrested. Because of my nerve damage, well, I mean, hey, go to a hospital, and like I said, it's a private enterprise. You ask the right question, you are asked to leave. Same as at long-term care homes, because their business, I mean, what do you call slavery? I'm sorry, I'm starting to get off track here. This is, I guess this turns into the one about the arrest. But I am fully confident because of they do not do that. When I was in court because of that assault, because they tried to call me a brain-injured person, and I think I'm stupid. So I started, and they put me into the position of having to defend myself on everything. Not even a basic question, just put through the ringer, through the motions. And I'm sitting here going, no, I don't want to participate. But when it's like, oh, well, we're going to continue without you, whether you're going to say anything or not, I said, okay, I'm going to ask these cops questions. And I started asking specific questions about their training. And I was prevented from doing so. Denise was prevented from doing so. I was given no representation because I was asking the right questions. They were using my disability against me. And, hey, I will, because there's no jury. There's just the Crown, the judge, and me and Denise getting bullied, where I was literally assaulted in the courtroom, where I pleaded for an ambulance because I was that. Anyway, I'm not going through it again. Let me be clear, though. Go watch the videos from 2015. I consider myself to be very lucky, because I should have been dead. I died May 1st, 2015, just like George did. I couldn't breathe as my legs were spasming because of my disability. And they're punching and kicking me. And the police reports are clear. There was up to 9 officers that were on me. we can hear you speak as my lungs expired, to the point where my bladder relieved itself. Do you understand what that meant? There's only one reason why I'm here. They were in such a panic to cover it up that they picked me up and were racing me to the car that was waiting across the street. And I came to in the arms, being carried, arms and legs, not knowing where I am. And then ensued 2 years of horseshit of the Crown that put me and my caregiver roommate through hell. You can witness what they've done here. I am the most dangerous person in Canada because of my brain injury, because of my disability and all these things, whether it be dealing with a tribunal because they falsely accused me of owing $5,000 through the whole process, trying to get representation to bring forward the facts. The actual hearing where I saved all my receipts, I brought them with me and showed them how I had paid off to zero. And he deliberately went back 2 months and said, well, you owed $500 here, right? And I went, yeah. And he goes, okay, I'm good. Guess what the hearing said? I owed $500. We're in a country where on a constitution it says you are allowed to have security of person. Well, Mr. Trudeau and Queen Elizabeth, I have a question for you. Why is it that everything to do with security of person, such as financial, housing, working, healthcare, education, I can't remember off the top, but everything, prisons, why is that all done by tribunal, quasi-judicial tribunals? You have a provincial government you have Minister of Housing in this situation where Minister of Housing, you can't get it together. There's rules and laws and regulations in place. There is a system of discovery and supposed to be crime and punishment in order to rehabilitate, to prevent the abuse of the law. And there's a court system and legal system that supports that. That works. It doesn't work for housing, no matter how you try. And it doesn't work for workplaces, no matter how you try. Well, I suggest both of you people to get together with the team that works at the Ministry of Transportation. Because what's going on here is the same as if he's allowed to drive around with any bad cars he wants because he has one that passed the safety. You can implement, when you have bad brakes on a car, you can sit there and say, hey, you're not allowed to, here, go get it tested. Here's what you got to do. Here's you got it. And if you don't, here's how the law applies. Here's how you go to jail. Here's the court system that can do that without fail. Transportation, right? They're using the same tools as they do at housing and at the workplace. And, you know, with all these heroes, what are we talking about? It was workplace fraud. The same as I was told that when I had an accident, immediately you go to, you have first aid, immediately you are brought to the hospital, immediately people are there to help you, and any treatment you are told you are given, you receive. Instead, what did I get? Left in a lunchroom for an hour and a half because the employer was allowed to operate for 5 years illegally, doubling his accident rate. Is it sounding familiar yet? Landlord, all 4 properties. So what happened? We are homeless, and why'd they do that? Because as a disabled person, I'm homeless, I don't have a van, right? my mobility's affected. They interfered in every aspect to put me down. The other thing you didn't realize is in the hospital, the worst part about it is, we had this going through landlord-tenant at the same time, and Denise had pulled off a stay. An actual stay of eviction, because they had no right to evict us under any circumstance. Still don't. But they did. They utilized the full weight and force of the law and the resources, especially that of the police, to use as an intimidation tool like they've always done. And this is not the first time. They know what, again, where did they get this information? From WSIB. There was a report where it said that, if I was on the verge of, what do they call it? Psychological harm and whatever, and they use it as a roadmap to take me apart. Every time I was granted, now again, who decides what treatment you get? A doctor, right? And if a doctor decides treatment, I guess, especially under the terms of, hey, it wasn't my fault, it was an accident, and which has been determined because I am on WSIB. I am their plaything. The only human rights case that needs to come forward for anywhere in this country is mine. I have 16 years of de facto evidence of in-camera moments in real time with every level of this supposed criminal entity, non-criminal entity known as the Crown. I am here to tell you, after Can I Duh Day? Yeah, you can. You can keep being stupid. Or you can realize that you're being lied to. The Queen is not benevolent. And if she is, maybe it's time to retire, and the biggest thing is retire those contracts. But I have a challenge for you, Queen Elizabeth, and every one of your consorts. Go down to your little bank in London and pull out the document that says what Canada is as a legal entity. Any of your countries of your British Commonwealth where it says Canada, because Canada is the Crown. The Crown is Canada. The Bank of Canada is the Bank of the Crown. All corporations around the world are from the Crown. So who's interfering with everything? Money's the root of all evil. We know who owns the tree. We all have a choice to make. I've made mine, and I'm going to pay for it because I will be murdered. I have no doubt in my mind that I'm going to be the next. Because I am a real and credible threat to their dishonor, to their lack of integrity. And the only reason why Canada lost the Security Council seat is because Canada is a farce. Canada cannot even handle its own human rights record. My heart goes out to the Indigenous people. And you know what? I feel that I'm Indigenous to this country too, because I was born and bred here. I am of the earth here. I have fought and bled for this country. I have worked with the sweat of my brow. I have stood beside my brothers. And we are one race. Stop using this race. You're walking right into their little trap. It's a Chinese finger trap. Just like a mortgage. Stop using the word racial, because we are one race. I'm not belittling what happened to anybody of color. But I need to, you need to understand. Like even that gentleman, that poor soul, actually two of them, I believe the person of, I don't even know how to properly say it, but Indian, only because he's from India, I think. I don't know, but anyway, the gentleman was schizophrenia. He was of color, but he also had schizophrenia, as did, I understand, the gentleman of color, who was in the news. The man's son
And we had to watch that man rip his heart out right on television and not know why. I'm telling you why. This is how they're trained. There is no go-between. We are their adversary. We are they are there. We are danger to them. That's what they're taught. You know, again, I asked the officer on the stand, what happens if you have a person who is visibly disabled? They're not given another option. They sit there and cop out to, oh, well, I'm given discretion. But the training that they receive is and always has been, pull them out of the chair, put them on the ground, put their arms behind their head, and that's how you restrain an individual. And if they're taught that every time they go into a situation, the person's going to fly off and we have to be ready for that, like, again, watch the video. The officers are there, decked out, ready for a fight. And Brian Larkin, is it part of the training to punish someone? You need to look at the dichotomy in the system, because Waterloo Region has a unique cabal where they have an era of cooperation between the hospitals, especially the hospitals. Because the other thing too is, when I was brought into there, it was all as a provocation, because the line of communication was amazing. The psychiatrist was coming in the room trying to use anger to set off my PTSD by provoking me, by sitting there saying, oh, so, you know, first of all, the other thing too you need to understand is, you need to have a capacity hearing. A doctor can sit there and say, I don't think this person is of sound mind and body, but you must have a capacity hearing if you ask for one. They used to have to do that within 3 days. Now they've got 7 before they even have to complete the process. So all they do now is they can keep you right up until, like they did me, right up to the last day and go, oh, you're let go. So there's no need for capacity hearing. Ever. So whether or not they were justified to hold you at any time has never been answered. Even when I was supposedly put through a mental health court at the Waterloo Regional Courthouse. That event happened almost a month to the day after Bo Baker was shot. Bo Baker, I believe, was at the beginning of April 2015. My heart goes out to his mother and everybody who cared about him. Because you know what? Your lawyer is a scam artist, just like the rest of them. They all work for the Law Society of Upper Canada. They're pervading. Thing is, they are not to do anything that brings the profession into disrepute, especially tell the truth about they are not honorable. I had people coming out of the Law Society of Upper Canada, Osgoode Hall, freshly graduated, going, I'm not allowed to record because of my disability, in order to return information for myself as a person with a disability. And they're coming out saying, well, I'm a single lawyer, so that doesn't apply to me. You know, there's who's responsible for education? Because I brought this issue up back when I started this with the guidebook for parliamentarians. I work in the industry where I have to take training on AOTA, just like everybody else in the business community. It's nothing more than a PowerPoint presentation, even to this day, so they could have you sign that piece of paper saying, oh yeah, I saw it, I understand it. Yeah, I'm trained. And their ability to lie, because you don't hear anything more about it. Then they just go back to the old way of just going, you know what, kick them out, don't say anything. Waterloo Region is no excuse, no example. Waterloo Regional sets the trend. Anyway. You people need to wake up. And like I said, like he's coming in that room and he's saying, oh, by the way, I hear Denise got to stay. You know, she's there all by herself. She's panicking right now because she's got nobody to help her move. And she's probably there packing boxes. And you'd probably really like to get out there and help her, right? maybe I should let you go. Right? And then when there's no response to that, because again, I knew what they were doing. They would come in and they would go, oh, well, we need to give you a shot. And I'm going, like I'm sleeping. I'm asleep. In the morning, all of a sudden, the doctor comes in with one nurse and one guard. Yeah, we feel that you're agitated. We need to give you a shot. And I'm going, excuse me? How am I agitated? I'm sleeping. So you refuse to take the shot. And I'm going, of course. Why would I take it? I'm not agitated. Please leave me alone. And I rolled over to go back to sleep, and they left. Well, about 5 minutes later, all of a sudden, 6 huge security guards come in. Surround the mattress on the floor. And tell me that I'm going to take this shot or they're going to make me. And again, I said, I'm sorry, I'm not agitated. I was very calm doing it. And this is all caught on video at the hospital. You know, probably all erased by now. Just like when I was there the last time and I wasn't even doing anything, they opened the door, all of a sudden 6 guards flood in and they hold me down, they restrain me, they harm me just to give me a shot. There's this thing about all these guards, you know, that's to provoke the PTSD, right? And this doctor going, oh, but, you know, he's got direct information about what's happening at the landlord-tenant, which turned out to be true because I didn't have any contact with the outside world until much later, and then I started finding out, and as I found out, he's using what's said on the phone, I guess. I don't know, maybe it's what he heard on the phone. But are they allowed to do that? All because I'm sitting here saying, here's the truth, and all you need to do is press play. And they are so afraid of it that all these advocates for disabled are not advocates. It's all window dressing, because I went to independent living centers and I said, hey guys, I just want to have you help me download a form for Police Services Board and help me fill out an application complaint on behalf of myself and on behalf of the officers, because they're not being trained. And they're being told to be put in these situations as a matter of their job to protect the community. They're not protecting the community. I wasn't even at the inspections. And they brought 2-3 police officers every time. Again, understand the reason why police officers are necessary is when they are necessary. If people are going, no, I'm not letting you in, get the fuck off my property. That's when they bring an officer back with them. We have never been in that situation. Matter of fact, we were the ones inviting them. And look what we invited. Even to the point where here we are today. And crime and punishment, well, the guy who did the crime was allowed to continue. They totally, I mean, the whole system, landlord, tenant, all ignored the Marshall Street Tenant Association. They ignored Carrie when she was sitting in the chair in the hearing trying to describe what's going on here is exactly the same thing, and we were all bullied. We were not given a safe place. We were not given safety anywhere. From the moment we brought up the issue, they disrupted everything and everyone, to the point where Tom, because actually Tom I felt more horrible about, because for the whole 2 years he was here, he was harassed every damn month by this landlord at this property. When, look, these are supposed to be investment properties. What money did he spend in it? Because I showed exactly that, and here's where the city has a question to answer too, because I went in the city records and discovered that when the bill of sale was registered, he registered the land registry. All the land registry was done properly, so the city was properly and duly notified that this rental property changed hands. They also know that at the March 31st of every year, that license is now expired. Matter of fact, if you get a hotel license, I'm pretty sure it's the officer that has to that has to put up that license, and you're not allowed to take that license down. They are the ones who take it down. Just like this one here, where they've even changed it to say that it is an offense under the residential rental license bylaw to not post a license. And yet, well, that's going to give you a clue as to whether or not they're compatible with the law. Mr. Shane Turner, and Shamir Maida and all those down at the Municipal Enforcement Division have been allowed to run roughshod around the law, create their own little operation down there where they can literally, no person is allowed to interfere with a work order. And yet they clearly used it as a prop, because even before, even they had no intention of enforcing it, and they still haven't. And that's a problem for the administration, because Municipal Act is very clear. And I know that they thought that by making us homeless and throwing us out on the street and taking away our resources, that we would go away. I'm sorry. Let me introduce myself. My name's Christopher. Means Christ bearer. I did this once before when you screwed my children around. And I came into your system then, and I did nothing but the truth. Told nothing but the truth. I did it all myself. I had to work hard. I had to do proper filings and get a whole education, the whole bit, while Fathers for Justice were trying to do their thing. Henry, how you doing? And rightfully so. Because this system, you want to talk about, what is your definition of human trafficking? Are you familiar with the Children and Family Services? You talk about Indigenous children. And I agree wholeheartedly. But there's more. This racial thing is bullshit. As far as they don't discriminate. Everybody is an equal opportunity tool, including the police, including Paul. So here's what I'm going to do. I think in the spirit of community commitment and fellow man being one race, I am putting out an official invitation to anybody who served on the Waterloo Regional Police Services, who feels that they were put into harm because of the training that they received and the lack of response to even your own complaints of PTSD. I am asking, or even fire, anybody who served in any of the services of Waterloo Region who feel that they have been harmed by these same policies. I'm asking you to join me, and we will do our joint complaint, especially a peace officer. I wasn't able to watch the video again, I'm sorry. I think his name is Paul. But Paul, or whatever your name is, the one who was saying that, I'm sorry, this doesn't help your PTSD either, I am inviting you personally to join with me as a member of this community, as a person who is equally harmed. We are just as disposable as the paper clips in their box on their desk. So I am asking you, let's do a joint complaint on how these practices continue to harm the community and the people that we try to serve. Again, I've done a lot of volunteering. I actually, I want to say hi to all the Grand River Transit people and the church groups that came down to Ray of Hope for all those years. I can't remember the last time I was there. Well, yeah, I do. It was just before the Christmas show that I posted at Sterling Mennonite. I was assaulted by the staff at Ray of Hope. And I went to Jesse Enns and a bunch of other people to try and have something dealt with, and was shut out, shut down, and harmed further. The whole apparatus is meant to serve itself. So go ahead and put out those order of candidates for working center. You people of privilege who decide how things are done. You're a disgrace. You use people. And Waterloo Region is well known for that. Really interesting because Lord Kitchener was the inventor of the, a lot of people don't know this, but Lord Kitchener was the one who designed concentration camps for the Boer War, for the British. And the British owned the patent on them, so when Germany went to build them, did they have to pay for the patent? Is that why Chamberlain was there to pick up his money? Also spread them out in Canada. Italians and Japanese and other people that they didn't find desirable. Canada, you don't deserve a security council seat because you can't even contain your own security. You're a farce. You have no honor. You have no integrity. And I'm sorry, authority without integrity is just bullying. So, you know what? I think we should do a referendum. Should the Crown be history in Canada? My vote is yay. Anyway. Again, I invite any person who has been harmed, especially as an employee of Waterloo Regional Police Services, to join me in a complaint to the Police Services Board, to the region, to Human Rights Council. I am also seeking assistance in having my issue brought before Human Rights because, again, I'm trying to get assistance. We weren't even given the proper venue to do anything properly with landlord-tenant board or anybody else. The minute you bring something up that they're afraid of, this is what happens. The whole apparatus comes down on you to prevent you from doing it. So happy birthday, Canada. Trying to set you free. You know, this thing is called indentured servitude. Go home and look at your mortgage and tell me it's your asset, okay? And by the way, if you went into your bank and you followed their advice or your financial advisor's advice to invest in the Pacific Rim and stuff like that, congratulations, pat yourself on the back because you helped to defund the manufacturing sector in North America and send it all to Indonesia. You bankrolled that. The thing you need to be asking yourself is, though, whose advice are they giving you based on? Who are they working for? Because the banks are all chartered and they all belong to the Crown. Yeah, they go to a lot of trouble to make you think that this is the American system of justice. It's not. And I'm sorry, you know, the longer you're in a prison, the more you become institutionalized. So yeah, some of you might think you got better toys than the others, but you know what? You're not going anywhere. And if you need to find out exactly where citizens stand in Canada, go read the Immigration Pledge. Pledge allegiance to the Queen, the Crown, because you are a subject of the Crown. I'm not subject to the Crown. The Crown is a bully, and the Crown has no class. You know, and I'm sorry you're terrified of me. You know, I really am. Little old me. All because I got a brain injury that allows me to record every freaking word that you've ever said. And it becomes very clear. Pattern of behavior. If criminality is measured by the pattern of behavior, but unfortunately in this country, you can't call the Crown criminal. Because they're not. They can never be criminal. And if they can't be criminal, then who's above the law? Anyway, have a good one.